Hello, Rank Squad, and welcome to our first interactive transfer show here on Prediction. We are the Ranks FC podcast. My name is Jack Collins, and I'll be your host today, and I'm joined by the full squad. The rank god, Mr. Sam Tai. How you doing, mate?
Hello, my friend. Very well. Very excited for this.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's all very, very fun, and I'm looking forward to a good evening. And the man of the moment, our transfer guru, Mr. Dean Jones.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good, mate. It's not only do we have people joining us, but you get to see each other in real life. We just do be stuck to the screen and seeing each other through Zoom calls or whatever. So it's nice to see you two as much as it is to see everybody else in the rank squad joining.
Yeah, absolutely. In the flesh. I'll repeat this a couple of times, but if you are ready to jump on and talk and ask us your questions, you just have to do the raised hand icon, which you'll see on your screen. And our friends over at Prediction will make sure that you're lined up and ready to come on and chat. So we're looking forward to speaking with a whole host of you today about a whole host of topics. But I think we should probably kick things off with the big news of the last couple of days, which was Kylian Mbappe, who has said to PSG that he's not extending his contract past 2024. He sent them a letter. It's very old school. I quite like it. But when you kind of look at that and the concepts all around it and what we're looking at with that, PSG now potentially going to have to sell Kylian Mbappe this summer if they want to make any money. Otherwise, he can walk for free next year. Dean, do you want to sort of walk us through the ins and outs and what this looks like in terms of where his destinations might well be?
I mean, it looks like a mess, doesn't it? I mean, that's where we're at because PSG didn't expect to be in the situation where they had to sell him right now. But there's no way, it's been made clear, that they want to let him go for free. So what now happens? Mbappe is saying, I'm not going to force a transfer right now. I don't need to leave right now. But he does. He actually does need to leave right now. Let's be honest, there's only one club primed right now to sign Kylian Mbappe, and it's Real Madrid. I don't know that he necessarily fits bang into that selection right now with the way that team makeup is, but he's going to have to, as you see on on the screen there, the stats attached to Kylian Mbappe, his record at PSG, absolutely ludicrous, right? And to be honest, it doesn't matter where Real Madrid play him, even if he can't play off the left. If he does have to play centrally, and this was his record at PSG, it's a pretty good record to say, okay, I still fancy this guy can go in there and score goals, even if it's not his favourite position.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a player worth breaking the bank for, I would suggest that goals and assists combined tally, more than one goal or assist per game, per 90. We're talking about a very select calibre of player that can achieve this, right? We long talked about it with Cristiano Ronaldo, who managed to maintain this kind of average throughout several clubs and several eras. It was amazing. Obviously, Messi's done it too. And I think Mbappe might be the only other one that can really do this. This is quite rare. No, it's very rare.
Yeah.
And he's a very special player. So if there is a player worth changing everything you thought you were planning in terms of a squad for, it's quite possibly Kylian Mbappe. And it's not that Real Madrid are coming from that perspective, right? It's not as if they'd never considered signing him. But I would be willing to argue that they're not in a position right now where they thought they were ready to do it.
Yeah.
That they would have a spot for him. I mean, all of their moves over the last couple of weeks have been, making Vinicius front and centre.
Take the number 7.
Yep, the face of the club, take the number 7 shirt. I mean, Benzema's gone, sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean the opening is there because Mbappe keeps saying that he doesn't want to play up front on his own. It's not that he has to play wide, it's that he wants to play with Olivier Giroud.
Yeah, that's it. This is the flat rule.
I'll come, but you have to sign Giroud first.
Or maybe this is where they're talking about signing Joselu. Joselu is going to be the new Olivier Giroud for Real Madrid. I mean, it is an interesting one because you look at actually destinations where he might end up. And I would say that right now in football, there is a glut of exceptional left wingers. It feels like the position maybe in the world where footballers are just, there is an over talent kind of burden on that left hand side. And you look outside of what's going on in these players in Kylian Mbappe, sure, and Vinicius Junior, but then you look to Serie A and you have Kvaratskhelia suddenly jumping out of nowhere. You have Rafael Leao lighting things up. You come to the Premier League. We've just seen an unbelievable season from Jack Grealish. We've seen Marcus Rashford drive from that left hand side. How many teams have a space right now? How many very elite sides? Let me rephrase that. Have a space right now where they're going, left wing is really the position that we need to invest in. The answer is very few, and that actually makes this quite a strange manoeuvre in many ways.
Yeah, again, Mbappe's going to have to accept he's not going to be a left winger for much longer. This is the thing. I've always thought he was going to end up being Thierry Henry anyway, the way that he plays and everything. And obviously, Henry played wide for a long time and then ended up coming inside. Do you see Grealish asked the other day, Henri, where were you best? And he was like, wide. But you have that ego and that drive, like Ronaldo had it too. You've got to eventually become front and centre and be that man. That's the only way you really become a superstar. And Mbappe is going to have to make that step. So Man United, no, there's not a gap there. Chelsea, I mean, there kind of is because he's better than like Raheem Sterling, but Chelsea aren't going to do that move right now to get Mbappe. They're not in the situation to do that. It's not even Champions. There's not even any European football. Like Kylian Mbappe is not going to go and do that. There's not a spot. So, like you say, Real Madrid's the only one that makes any sense. It really is.
The thing is, right, this game we play with ourselves, like, right, well, who's got a spot? Who's got an opening? There's all the merit in the world in that. But at the end of the day, you can also just come straight at me and say, well, I think Mbappe is the best player in the world. And if you hold that opinion, I think it is perfectly valid. Like, I don't know what the actual answer is, but Mbappe might be the best player in the world. And he's early 20s, mid-20s.
Yes.
Like, is this not a player that you move heaven and earth for and change all your plans for?
And what's his dream club? His dream club is Real Madrid. Real Madrid have tried to sign him at least 2 or 3 times before.
Yeah, and he keeps turning them down. He doesn't feel like his dream club.
He's so nervous. He has to be ready. It's now, Kylian. You've got to go.
Yeah. I've got to say, so I'm looking at the odds earlier, right? His odds to stay at PSG, currently 1-2 odd.
Right.
Is, I think, approximately minus 100.
Approximately wrong, I'd say.
Minus 100 in American terms. I'm going to use both at once here. It's very
tough. Very tough.
Real Madrid 5-2. Manchester United 7-2. And then it goes down to Arsenal and Manchester City, both at 25-1. Bayern Munich at 33-1. Chelsea at 33-1. Now, Chelsea obviously have ruled themselves out of this on paper. Whether they were in that conversation or not, to begin with, is a different kettle of fish. But that jump there from Manchester United 7-2 to Manchester City at 25-1 feels like a big jump for a team in Manchester City that are going to have just won the treble, are probably the best team in the world right now, or maybe definitely the best team in the world right now.
Maybe definitely.
Well, I haven't.
No, they definitely are.
Definitely, maybe.
They definitely are.
Famous Manchester City fans, Noel and Liam Gallagher. But you kind of look at that and think, well, they're potentially going to lose Mahrez, potentially going to lose Bernardo Silva, potentially going to lose Gundogan. Does an opening appear here, and Manchester City go, right, let's put the two best young players in the world on the same team? And if they do, that's pretty scary for everyone else.
Well, a lot of people thought Bellingham might end up at Man City, and like they were going to be in that conversation. He's ended up at Real Madrid, so maybe they get their own back and say, okay, well, we'll get Mbappe instead. There's no sign at the moment of Man City actually going down this path, but you can never say never. I mean, you think of the ownership, you think of where they're heading, you think of who could actually tempt Kylian Mbappe. Like Man City have got it all. They've got the manager, they've got the status, they've got the structure of play, they've got potentially the position. I mean, he's better than Jack Grealish, so like they could be like, sorry, Jack. Like,
well, Jack,
enjoyed watching your celebration, but that was the highlight of the season.
Jack might be able to take Gundogan.
Yeah, it's just kick him inside and play him. It's like where Foden ended up coming on in the final. Like Grealish played kind of that role in his last season for Aston Villa anyway. So you can start to rejig things.
Imagine Man City reacted to winning the treble by signing Kylian Mbappe. That's what they need to do to stay there, to win it again. The final's at Wembley next season of the Champions League final. Pep, go back-to-back Champions League titles with Kylian Mbappe.
Unpopular opinion.
First.
I think he'd make them worse.
Oh.
No, don't start.
He might be right, though.
I think I'm probably right.
Well, like Haaland did.
No, I don't think. I never said that.
A lot of people did.
A lot of people did. A lot of people were wrong. I didn't say that. I just wonder if, part of the way that this team works is that Haaland is the centre point, the focal point. He scored so many goals. And so much of Grealish's season has been not about racking up numbers of goals and assists, but actually being that provider, stepping back, having that relationship. If you put two absolutely determined to be the single best player in the world in the same front line, are they going to feed off each other?
Yeah,
I don't know.
So here's the other question. If you play Mbappe on the left and he gets triple marked, and you play Haaland up front and he gets triple marked, the right winger is unmarked. So the right winger is now the best player in the world because he scores 100 goals.
Well, there you go. Bernardo Silva should stay at Manchester City if they sign Kylian Mbappe. Reunite that Monaco team. Hey, hear me out.
Where's Falcao? What's the episode?
Yeah, exactly. Let's get Timu Bakayoko in from Chelsea and Manchester City launching drive. Right. Let's just reenact that. If you want to come on and you're ready to have a chat, then put your hand up in the chat downstairs, and our friends at Prediction will make sure that you jump into this chat.
Come and join us. It'll be fun.
We're going to have a load of fun. When you do that, make sure that at least your microphone, but maybe even your microphone and your webcam, if you want to do that.
Be brave.
then you can come on. Yeah, so it's all very exciting. So I think Retunje is going to be coming on first.
Brilliant.
A loyal old school friend of the Rank Squad.
This is it. This is what I'm excited about tonight. We're actually getting to hear from people. Obviously, on like Ranks the podcast, like we get the comments in on Patreon and stuff, and we start to recognise names and like personalities and who the people support. Never actually chatted to any of them unless they sent us a voice note with their predictions, which a couple of people did do. But come on, people, you're here. Chat to us for an hour.
Yeah, this is it. This is the big opportunity. Right, Retunje is going to be on in a minute, but
Brilliant.
we're I mean, what's your bet on this? If you would stick on a bet on where Kylian Mbappe would end up at the end of this summer, would you actually say Real Madrid?
Yeah.
Or do you think he stays the season, another season at PSG?
Say he goes to Real Madrid. I really do. I just don't see how that doesn't happen. Like if you've presented with an opportunity like this, you have to go. Like there's basically like there's turmoil around this now. Like I know people bounce back from situations like this before, and like it's not really the end of the world that you sent them a letter saying I'm not staying for that extra year. But from a PSG point of view, they do seem really, really rattled by this. And
They're just like, not again, mate. Come on.
how do other fans
He did it
react?
really early. He did really early. No, he didn't have to send this letter in until the 1st of August. No, he had an opt-in next year rather than opt-out next year.
I could have just texted.
Yeah, he could have just texted again. But he didn't have to make a decision until the 1st of August. The fact that he has made that decision right now.
Well, this is a hard
Do you
deal to
think
get
it's-
over the line in mid-June. It's
do you
even
think
more
it's-
hard. It's even harder in August.
Fine, but do you think it's because Benzema has left Real Madrid? Do we wonder if that's the domino effect?
Maybe,
made this
maybe he thinks that's it.
Well, he's seeing everyone's going to Saudi Arabia. It's like a spot's going to open up somewhere. I might as well let everyone know that I'm on the market for whoever they want me to replace because I'm not going there yet. God, he can't go to Saudi Arabia. They'll try.
So I think he does end up at Real Madrid too, because nothing good can come of this if he ends up staying at PSG, right?
Yeah.
PSG don't want him to stay, and Mbappe may not want to leave now, but he wants to leave within the next 12 months. So ultimately, this is coming to an end. He's sort of backed himself into a corner here, which
indeed.
is a difficult spot, but I think Real Madrid are going to save him by spending 100 million on him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be interesting. Very interesting. Right. We have our first guest.
Let's go.
Retunje is coming on. Very excited to see what he has to say. So I'm going to say, hello, Retunje.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Can you hear me now?
We can indeed.
All loud and clear, mate.
Perfect. Yeah. Since we are talking about the treble-winning best team in the world, they're going to have to recruit more because either Gundo or Bernardo or both are going to leave. And we definitely have needed a left back for like 5 years now. So where do you see, like, who do you see ending up at City? Like, and which positions do you think the club's going to strengthen? Because Mahrez might leave too, because the Saudi Arabian League is also interested in him. So we might need a right winger too. Who do you think we're going to get in?
DJ, where are City going to go this summer? What do they want?
Okay, so obviously they are going to need a left back. So if you watch the Champions League final, you just seen Inter Milan had a left back. He's Di Marco, and they've looked into that. They've looked into it for a couple of months. So there's the potential that comes around. Obviously, in the centre of midfield, there's solutions that they're looking for. Kovacic is one that's already on the cards and that's very close to going through. There's a very, very, very outside chance that they hijack Arsenal's move for Declan Rice. Like they have inquired for Declan Rice. That is how highly thought of he is and how they're thinking, do we really want him to join Arsenal, basically? Like Arsenal ran us closest last season. They're signing a player we could actually quite do with. So there's the Declan Rice one, which, again, I don't think that'll happen now. I think Arsenal are too far along, but if they're not going to get him, maybe they still go for another central midfielder as well as Kovacic. Yeah. And then maybe another wide forward. Like, it depends if Mahrez decides to take the money. I don't think necessarily he has to. He actually racked up some really good numbers last season. In the time when it didn't seem a lot that he was necessarily first choice for Pep, he turned to him in some big moments, some big games, and he delivered some massive moments throughout that season for Man City. And they have to be very careful how many players they move on over the course of a summer. So if Bernardo and Gundogan already go, I think you've got to be really careful about also moving on someone like Mahrez who's been part of that project.
Definitely. And also the elephant in the room here is, what happens to Joao Cancelo? Does he get reintegrated or does he get sold? And I'm having a hard time believe that he will get sold, because I think the price for Cancelo is pretty astronomical, because I think everybody knows how good he is. Okay, last 6 months not gone to plan, and they've got even better without him, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he's really, really good. So City, having handed Arsenal 2 players last summer and gone, here you go, here's Gabby Jesus, so like have a good one, and Arsenal run them so close. This stuff, I think they've had their fingers burnt here, and I don't think they're going to do that again, particularly inside the Premier League. They should be very, very reticent and very careful about this.
Yeah. They should be, but I don't think they are.
Where would Cancelo go? Because we know that the rest of Europe struggles to match the cash of the Premier League. I think Cancelo ends up coming back into the fold. Now, I don't know what position he actually plays, because they've kind of moved on from his position, but maybe he sits in and plays as, a Stones rotator. Could Cancelo cover that sort of vertical line? Could he play 6 into 8 into midfield? I suspect possibly yes.
Yeah.
I think Cancelo's future here shapes an awful lot of what happens over the course of the summer for City.
I wonder if City go in for Kieran Tierney. Now, I know there's been a lot of Newcastle links, and I know that his injury history is not great at this point. But I do think that what we've seen from him in a Celtic shirt, in a Celtic shirt, but also in a Scotland shirt, when he's tucked in to the left-hand side of a back three to form that extra player, I think he's the kind of player that Pep would love, and also provides a nice little option in there of a left-back becoming a left centre-back rather than a left centre-back becoming a left-back. It just gives them that kind of rotation, City. So I'd be interested to see what that...
Difficulty with all this, of course, is that we're basing all of this on what Pep is doing right now with his current structure. Call it 3-2-4-1. And we're trying to put players into that. He might change that system.
4-4-2.
He genuinely might change it in the next 3 months.
Alvarez and Haaland up top.
And that changes things massively. And if you go back to last season, Mahrez was a massive part of this City team last season. He scored some really big goals, sure, but he was also like quite a consistent player. He was also a very consistent outball for a switch as well. He was actually a really important part tactically. And now he's not important at all. Cancelo went from pivotal player to loaned out. Things happen so fast in this ecosystem. It's so hard for us to keep up.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. And right, there we have some answers for Ritunje. I hope you really enjoyed that, mate. And I'm very excited to see what City do. Maybe this is Cole Palmer's season. So thank you so much for coming over.
Yeah, maybe.
See you guys.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. All right, next up, I believe it's Ahmed. He's going to come on and have a chat with us as well. Oh, look at this. Ahmed in the shirt. Old school shirt. Love that.
For the pod. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate the work you guys put in. So what I want to talk about is about Chelsea, for obvious reasons. We've obviously been quite heavy in the news recently for obvious reasons, because we've got a lot to address in the club, both in terms of incomings and outgoings. So I wanted to focus a bit more on the incoming, specifically in that midfield, recruiting that partner for Enzo. Looks like we're going to miss out on Declan Rice, which is, for me, a big howler because of the fact that he's got those connections to Chelsea, and because his best mate, Mason Mount, is at the club, who also looks like he's going to leave. So he's going to be joining Arsenal potentially. Now, we've got Caicedo as our first choice, which I think is the next best available, but there's going to be a lot of competition for him, and there's a chance that we don't get him. So I just wanted to ask, if we can't get Caicedo, who would you put forward as a good alternative to be that DM for Chelsea this season?
Yeah,
it's a great question.
Yeah, thanks, mate. That's really good way of setting it up. I mean, it's interesting. I was coming in today, and I knew that obviously we were going to be talking transfers, and Chelsea was definitely going to come up. So I was speaking to a contact, and was literally throwing up this. I was like, how do Chelsea allow this midfield to completely fall apart? How do you lose Kante, Kovacic, Mount, maybe Conor Gallagher, whoever else I've forgotten, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, maybe even. Yeah, like that's 5 midfielders. I'm not saying they're all as
midfielders and Ruben.
Listen to it. I'm not saying that they're all as important as one other. That's 5 midfield players. Like, you can't lose all of those and expect to naturally progress and the player be ready, whoever comes in, to take Chelsea to the next level. And use the example of Caicedo coming in alongside Enzo. Like, yeah, obviously a great player, but there's this big elephant in the room of like, is this team going to be experienced enough to straight away lift Chelsea to get back in the Champions League? Now, I think Chelsea will definitely improve on last season now, but can they actually compete for the title like I've suggested in the pod that they will? And Caicedo has played 1 year of Premier League football. To stick him alongside Enzo, who's obviously like really, really good and everything else, but like having Declan Rice is totally, totally different to going to players like Caicedo. But as this person says to me, when it comes to setting this team up and the recruitment team planning their future signings, they're no longer thinking like the old Chelsea used to think. Chelsea used to plan and buy players and say, okay, how are we going to win the Premier League next year or the year after? How are we going to make sure that we're in the Champions League final either next year or the year after? That's how they worked. Now it's like, okay, how do we make sure that in 4 years' time, all these players are still worth loads of money and we get it all back while we also still compete? That's really, really difficult, because if Chelsea invest in these 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds like they have been over the last year, and next season miss out in the Champions League again, you're suddenly falling behind in recruitment because players are no longer going to want to be part of that project because they won't believe that there's a guarantee you're going to be back in that Champions League conversation. And suddenly Chelsea find themselves stuck on the outside looking in, this massive project, massive investment that is suddenly starting to look, it actually has gone wrong. So yeah, Declan Rice for me is a much, much better signing than Caicedo, or needs to go in there with Caicedo. And at the moment, I don't think they're being linked with players that have enough, so they're that little bit older, that they are 100% a success for next season.
True. I mean, I find the Declan Rice thing baffling because they spent 2 years chasing him when they didn't necessarily need him. And now they need him more than ever, and they couldn't be further away from him.
Yeah.
It is absolutely bizarre. The whole thing is upside down, and it's a big shame for Chelsea and Chelsea fans, of course. I think if Rice is off the table, then Moises Caicedo is the next best option.
Yeah,
definitely. And if it's not Caicedo, if he ends up going somewhere else, and when we start to run down the list, we do get a little bit cheaper. But you know, my next suggestion would have been Manuel Ugarte from Sporting. He's not that much cheaper, is he? Apparently, if he's going to go to PSG for 50, 60 million, then he didn't turn out to be too much cheaper. If he's already booked and he's going to PSG, we're moving down to Manu Kone at Gladbach, moving down to Kefren Turam.
would be my suggestion.
I mean, the irony of this all is that there's been a player on Chelsea's books all season that I think is just fine. His name's Denis Zakaria, and no one at the club knows his phone number, and he doesn't come to training anymore. He's not allowed in the building. It's ridiculous. He is fine as a profile to basically play in that midfield spot next to Enzo. And the key really is you need legs next to Enzo. He's really good at lots of things, but he's not the most mobile player. And you probably need a bit of tenacity and a bit of ground coverage around him. That's why Kante would have been good. That's why Zakaria is really good. And that's why Florentino Luis would be good. But I don't think you want to get on the phone to Rui Costa again. I think he'll probably just hang up immediately.
I think he might be on the way to jail. So
I mean, honestly, like it's going to be tough to negotiate with Benfica again after January with Enzo. But we're down to sort of Kefren Turam, Manuel Ugarte, Manu Kone.
But none of that addresses the fact, and I bring this back to Ahmed here, that what Dean said about experience, right?
No, it doesn't.
Where would you go with it? Because you can look at someone like a Jeffrey Kondogbia, you know, who I think is still, there is life in the old dog yet without being too, you know, pun-heavy. But when you look at that, are you going into Kefren Turam and, you know, Manu Kone, or are you looking at players on the other end of the spectrum because this is such a young Chelsea team?
Well, we sort of take our lead from their direction, don't we?
I'm asking Ahmed.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Oh, you're asking me.
Speak.
Go on.
So yeah, so my opinion is that we should really kind of try as hard as we can to keep Mason Mount, and then by extension try and attract a project for Declan Rice for him to come in. I think with the fact that we're playing hardball with Manchester United, there is an avenue there where they just never come to an agreement on a fee, in which case you've got Pochettino who's desperate for Mount to stay. I'm really still praying something like that happens. If that doesn't, then you're looking at players like Manu Kone, Kefren Turam, where it's a bit more of a gamble than an assured, reliable option. One question I had was about Youssouf Fofana, who I think is he the one whose contract is running down. So he played for France at the World Cup, so he's got a bit more experience. Is he someone who could be a potential option as well?
Yeah, I think his contract ends this summer. I think it ends next summer. But it might be winding down, as you say, which is a fair point. Yeah, I think there's joy there. I think if you're going to sign someone of that profile, you're in the same room. I think you'd put Yusuf Fofana, and I really like him, and I like that Monaco midfield a lot. But if you're looking at that, you're looking at Thuram, you're looking at Manu Kone, and I would say that these are players in the same bracket of where they are right now in their career.
True, but as you said, it's like one has played at a World Cup.
Yeah,
that does count for a lot in terms of just that maturity, I think.
Yeah, like in terms of Mason Mount, like I'm totally with you. I can't believe they're allowing this to happen. Like this, despite everything I've been fed for the last 3-4 months, like he's going. I've been like, yeah, but he won't really because he's just Chelsea. Chelsea, you don't allow a player that came through to just go and join Man United like that. And again, like you come back to like the fee for Mason Mount, and Man United say, okay, £40 million. Chelsea like, no, this player's £70 million, and they're like, no, he's not. That's fine right now. It's off season. The transfer window literally opens today. You can knock back an offer for £40 million today, and that's fine. In a month's time, Mason Mount is still a Chelsea player, has no signs of signing a new contract, is not part of the pre-season plans. Man United are like, are you taking this money or not? And they're like, no, we want 70 million. You lose negotiating ground straight away. So as soon as we get to pre-season, if Mason Mount is still a Chelsea player, there becomes less and less chance of them striking a deal. So Chelsea are going to have to accept this ain't going to go above £50 million. There's no way that it's going above £50 million. Like it shouldn't either. Like that's, if they're going to allow this situation to come around whereby they want a player to have resale value or that is it, you have to leave Chelsea, they have to also accept that you're not getting above £50 million for him.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I also think that if Chelsea are like, this is a £70 million player, then you need to pay him £300 a week, because those two things don't
exactly
the same way that they would do normally.
Poor Mace.
Money Mace making money. Right, Ahmed, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, wicked, mate.
I really appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
That's all, mate.
Wicked. Yeah, lots of work to do at Chelsea. There's bits.
Yeah, Melon of the season, Todd Burley, as he was been crowned today on Ranks FC, has to really figure out how he fixes this problem, because he has got massive issues on his hands, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Moises Caicedo, we spoke about it right at the stop there, and we've got Michael coming on in a second, so I just want to talk about it briefly. But because Caicedo's still the favourite, if you will, to go to Chelsea, 6-4 to go to Chelsea, 7-4 to go to Arsenal, 6-1 to go to Manchester United. And so it does feel like Chelsea is on that.
I really see Chelsea as a strong destination for him here. And I would have ordinarily believed that Arsenal were ahead, but surely, I mean, I might just be completely wrong, but if Arsenal were going to close a deal for Declan Rice at 80, 90 million, can they genuinely afford to go and put something together that's quite similar for Moises Caicedo? Bearing in mind they do have other positions to fill and other strengths and that they need to find.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of money on a midfield, by the way, which was pretty damn good last year.
Yeah,
it's not the sort of midfield you look at and go, yeah, that needs total surgery. We've got to spend at least 160 million.
They're losing, obviously, Granit Xhaka, and there is talk that Thomas might be on his way as well. So if you do lose both those players, then suddenly you do need two good, high-class centre midfielders to go and.
Oh, certainly get it. Certainly get it with Xhaka, and then I see Havertz linked as well, and I'm like,
lots of things to think about. Right, Michael's here. Let's chat to Michael. Michael, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, really good. Really good. What's that shirt? That's cool.
That's San Diego Loyal, baby.
Oh, I love it.
Come on, Dino.
Dean's
I know it. I'm trying to get to a San Diego Loyal game, end of July. Yeah. So, Michael, have you been to many games? Is it good?
I'm a season ticket holder.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. I'll meet you at the game.
Take him with him.
I'll get you a ticket.
Yeah, I've basically got back-to-back games lined up. I can't remember who Loyal play. It's like 25th of July or something. And then the week after, I go to San Diego Wave against Angel City.
Oh, man.
So that's my schedule. So, yeah, I'll hit you up, mate, for sure.
Fantastic. Please do.
Michael, what's your question?
Yeah, so I have a couple. First of all, thank you guys for hosting this. This is really cool. And you guys are probably the best football podcast I listen to, even though I listen to like 4 or 5, but you guys are awesome. I'll start off that I don't appreciate you guys mentioning Khéphren Thuram to Ahmed, because my Liverpool team are looking for a couple new midfielders, and he's kind of at the top of the list. So a couple questions. One is, obviously, Liverpool, they do their dealings kind of on the down low, and we really don't hear anything much until kind of it happens. McAllister might be that one exception that I've seen so far. So I wanted to know from Dean, how likely is that Khéphren Thuram transfer? Because it looks like a pretty nice fit as a box-to-box with how big he is and physical and just overall studly. And then I also want to know how valid these Chiesa transfer rumors are, because I think we might need a backup for Mo for AFCON, but I'm not sure how likely we are just to spend 35 mil on a whim because he's available, because Juve's in financial troubles. And the last question goes back to Thuram, is how good can he really be? Because he's pretty crazy physically, and I want to know. I've only been watching him for the past, couple months, watching some Nice games, but wanted to hear what your opinion was from you guys. So thanks so much.
Yeah, wicked. So obviously, like Manu Kone and Khéphren Thuram are talked like they're like joined at the hip. Whenever like every single Liverpool story is like, well, it's Thuram and Kone, like they're inseparable, and it's like they're not the same person. Like you can talk about these two separately. And I personally, from conversation I've had, I think Thuram seems more likely than Kone. That's the reading I've got of it so far. It's really difficult with Liverpool, I'll be honest. Like,
getting easier, because the McAllister thing was, like, as Mike says, it was kind of like quite well publicised.
Because it was well publicised.
It was only well publicised like 2 days beforehand, and then suddenly it all was through. It was like, right, it's done.
It was months of
Well, his agents made it clear. It came through like that he was leaving. So that was fed that he was leaving, and then it became possible for it to become more of an open secret that he was going. So I think it was one of the rarities of Liverpool, like being openly talked about that a player was joining, and then it actually happened.
Couldn't figure out if that was because he's Argentinian and their press are prolific,
a little bit,
because their front office is changing now. Obviously,
it's
like, will that genuinely change the way Liverpool do business, and whether or not you can hear a little bit more?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's definitely been a bit different this year. I mean, I've got a list of players I was talking about the other day, and like they talk about James Ward-Prowse. They were looking at Ward-Prowse was linked for 25 million from Southampton. Like, one, he's not leaving for 25 million pounds. Two, I don't think this is your problem. Like, Ward-Prowse
not good enough for them.
Is not good enough. Not like, you're not just looking for someone who's good at set pieces here, and you're looking for someone who's got legs, who is technically able to like keep possession and intercept. Like, he's just not any of those things anymore. James Ward-Prowse had a poor season, to be honest with you. I wrote in like February, March that they'd started to scout Palhinha. I didn't even want to write it because I was like, actually, this really fits with what I need to do. They haven't followed that up, so I hope they don't, but they probably should, because João Palhinha's energy in there would probably allow a lot for that remaining Liverpool midfield to actually thrive upon. But yeah, I think Khéphren Thuram looks like a really good fit. Okay, I haven't seen a lot of him either, Michael, so I don't know enough about like what you would actually be getting in this team, but everyone I speak to seems to think that makes more sense.
Yeah, so they're sort of being touted as like, you can have one of them, like which one would you like? And in doing so, we fall into a little bit of a trap there of potentially sort of labelling them as exactly the same player, which is not fair, because they do have differences. Oh, yes, they both have great energy. They're both box-to-box players, but
great double pivot.
I mean, yeah, they could be great together. But Khéphren Thuram, I think, is probably, I'd say, softer in possession. By softer, I don't mean easy to tackle. That's probably a bad way of putting it. I'd say a smoother. Smoother on the ball.
Well, he's more glide.
I think he's more press resistant. I think he does glide. I think he takes the ball under difficult circumstances, and he can move and just beat a man and start to transform the way you're playing in terms of like take you from defense to attack really smoothly. He's really nice to watch, isn't he? He really does glide. And Kone, he's not terrible at that, but I actually don't think you're necessarily passing him the ball while he's double marked. I wouldn't trust him necessarily in those areas, but I do think that he's a bit of an off-the-ball destroyer. I think he's got great energy. I think once the ball gets into the middle third and it ping-pongs around, he's on it and he wins everything. Mm. So while they do have great athleticism and great qualities, I think Thuram suits a top team, just a little bit better, maybe, if you're looking for ball progression. I think Liverpool might be looking for that. Yeah, I think they might be looking for a bit more ball security.
I don't think they might be looking for both, and I think it would be not a bad double deal here if they bring in McAllister at the top of this kind of triangle, if you will, the kind of 10 in name, although we know Liverpool don't necessarily play with a 10, and then you play Thuram and Kone alongside him. You're looking at a lot. Like, we've spoken all season long about the fact that Liverpool have struggled in midfield, and if they go and they sign these players and the kind of money around both of them was talked at around the 40 million euros mark. So let's say 35 million pounds. If you sign them 3 and Alexis at these funds, you've signed all 3 for less or about the same as Chelsea signed Enzo Fernandez for.
Yeah.
That is an incredible
and Bellingham
revamp.
to Real Madrid
That
as
is an
well.
incredible revamp.
I mean, we should remember, like, Curtis Jones came in at the back end of last season and was really, like, he was actually, like...
But not the answer.
He's not the answer, but he has to have chances because he was really, really good.
Yeah.
And they always want that, like, homegrown figure within that team.
Yeah.
Jordan Henderson, I know he's not homegrown as such, but, like, he's been part of this team for a long time and he's going to be faded out slowly. So you want, like, someone like Curtis Jones in there. Bajcetic obviously has, like, become part of that too.
Harvey Elliott's there too.
Harvey Elliott's there as well.
Not physical.
So are we
Then
convinced that they need both?
Yeah, I am.
I'm not convinced.
I don't
With all those names,
I don't think Harvey Elliott can play in this midfield 3 for Liverpool. I don't think he's physical enough and offers what Klopp needs from his midfield. The successful midfields that we've seen under Jurgen Klopp do not include a player like Harvey Elliott.
they don't. I'll accept that. But is there not a way that they can coach him into something?
If they start playing a number 10. And if they start playing a number 10, then they may as well be playing Fabio Carvalho there because he's a better profile than Harvey Elliott for the 10.
Another one.
But I do think that you've now got Alexis in there who can play 3 different roles, right? So you've got this thing. I don't think that Liverpool, I like Curtis Jones as a player as well. I like Harvey Elliott. I think they're good players. I don't think they work in a Klopp midfield 3. And I genuinely believe that if Liverpool want to kick on and get back into the Champions League and challenge again for the league next season, those midfields can't include, they can include Bajcetic. I like Bajcetic, and I think he fits the bill. I don't think they can include the likes of Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones on a regular starting basis. They can have places in the squad, in the moving in and out. But
Curtis Jones would be happy to play 15, 20 games a season for Liverpool for the next 10 years.
He's played 10 straight at the end of the season. He's got a taste for it now.
Yeah, that's true.
There's the Europa League campaign to think about as well, so he can play that.
That's true, yeah.
Very important. Okay, right. So we have another guest coming on in a second. I believe that Douglas is going to be joining us. Looking forward to that one. I will keep you updated when he's ready
in, mate.
He's there.
to get through.
Douglas.
Yeah, he's in it.
Hey.
Hello. The Bayern shirt on. Very good vibes. How you doing, man?
Trying to manifest Rice to Bayern because I'll do anything.
Oh, wow. You'll be there all day.
Yeah, I think that one's gone, hasn't it?
It was never there, mate.
This is not obvious. I'm a West Ham fan, so the last thing I want to do right now is talk about West Ham transfers because that means Rice to Arsenal. So I was going to ask actually about the best competition in the world, which is the Conference League, surprisingly.
Yep.
And I was going to ask about Aston Villa in the Conference League next year, because after watching what that many games a season has done to West Ham for 2 years, I'd be worried if I was a Villa fan right now. And I've also seen some crazy stuff like them with Dybala links and stuff like that. That's just not going to happen. So realistically, how do they prepare for the Conference League?
Yeah, buy 10 players.
Well, it feels like they're on the hunt for everyone. Sam, I mean, this is a good time to talk about Villa, I think. And this is a squad, and I think Doug will probably agree here, that when you're looking at West Ham this year and you look at the Villa squad and you look at Emery and Moyes, if West Ham this season can go and win the Conference League, and they were absolutely excellent towards the end of that competition, then Villa have lots of opportunity and will feel that this is a very winnable thing next season. How do you deal with that when you've now also got the back of a kind of, we should maybe be finishing top 8 at the same time? That's a difficult balance to strike.
It's really difficult because not only that, but you've got this potential for maybe 15 extra games. Villa will be okay in domestic cups because they don't get past the FA Cup third rounds. They don't need to worry about like another cup run. They're contractually obliged to bow out in the third round. But the Europa Conference League, could be another 15 games. Then you've got 38 in the Premier League, and the competition in the league for where Villa want to be, I'd say probably at its absolute peak in the last 20 years or so, because they finished 7th, and aiding that was Chelsea finishing 12th and Tottenham finishing 8th, because Newcastle have stormed the castle, and Villa are sort of trying to chip their way in as well. So what have you got? You've got 9 clubs there that think they're top 7. So something's got to give. And it will be Villa and their league season if the Conference League starts to extend into February and March. Because as you well know, eventually a manager will have to start prioritising a competition. He basically just has to pick one, right? And inevitably for a club of Villa or West Ham stature, you pick the European adventure because it's a potential one in a lifetime. I would say that they need 2 players for every position. They can't afford to do that. They won't do that.
I mean, what I would also say is, going back to the fact you support West Ham, they didn't recruit the way they've been recruited. Like bringing in Scamacca, who didn't fit with David Moyes' philosophy. That Scamacca's a really good forward, and he's gonna be like whoever he goes and joins. If he goes and joins Roma, I think he'll do brilliantly for Roma. But also, I think that they should sell him and get as much back in for him and reinvest that. And I think that that would have solved a lot of problems if West Ham had had a striker they could actually use properly during the course of last season. Even bringing Danny Ings didn't even, to be honest, Ings wasn't even used as much as I expected. I think at Aston Villa, like, definitely are prioritising the centre back. So, like, Pau Torres keeps being mentioned. Harry Maguire has been mentioned too. I mean, I don't know either of them. Think that, maybe either of those are the answer, but like they're the ones. We're talking earlier about Nicholas Jackson. Like, is he a good profile fit for Villa? Probably is. Like, probably is exactly what they need to be looking for. I'm told that like a wide forward, but also an adaptable one is something they're going to look for. They need somebody to take some of the burden off of Ollie Watkins, obviously. So I think that is going to be interesting too. I'm not sure making Europe this season was the best thing that could have happened to Villa. I said it at the back. I was like, I kind of think they need to just miss out. But then again, they've got Tielemans. They're into a different ballpark now of players that they can actually go and sign. So you got to weigh it all up.
It's a strange one because I feel like they need 10 players, but I know that they want to sign 4 really good ones to improve.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate that strategy because you want to get better, so you need to sign quality. The key thing here is the youth coming through. This is the point we'll end on here, is that they've got Jaden, Philogene Bidace, they've got Aaron Ramsey, they've got Cameron Archer, they've got 3, maybe 4, Tim Arobanen, who was on loan at QPR, 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 players that can come in and flesh that squad out. Those numbers are everything, as you well know, when it comes to those Thursday night games, particularly if you have to go to Bulgaria or something like that. Like Cameron Archer coming in and playing 90 minutes there is absolutely...
Yeah, and anyway, look, West Ham, you might have Harvey Barnes soon, so you should be happy, mate.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a whole podcast on West Ham recruitment.
We'll try and do it over the summer for you.
We will do. Oh, mate, thank you so much for coming on, Doug. Really, really appreciate it. I'm going to keep things rolling. But you wouldn't trade that Conference League win for any league position, would you? So that's all Villa fans do have to look forward to. Just a reminder that if you do want to come on, you're ready with your mic camera, click the raise your hand icon, and the wonderful group of lads at Prediction will sort you out. Right, Dom's on next. Dom, how you doing?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
We can,
mate. Yeah.
Excellent, thanks. You know, guys, I've been a part of the rank squad for probably a couple of years, but it's the first time I've been in touch, so good to speak with you.
Oh, Ledge.
Oh, great stuff.
Awesome,
How you doing?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan, so apologies to the rest of the audience who've had to listen to a second Chelsea fan asking questions. But I guess really, I do think the midfield number 6 position is probably for me the most pressing concern. But also we need to get goals from somewhere as well. And I'm not sure Lukaku will end up being the solution. I don't think that probably works for Chelsea fans or Lukaku realistically, based on the past. So just keen from your perspectives, who do you think will be targeting realistically? And if one or two of you can maybe give a bit of a prediction for who you think will be starting up top next year for us, because I don't think Poch is like previous managers we've had who are comfortable to have a sort of a roaming or a sort of a false 9 sort of position. I think he'll want a fixed 9.
Yeah,
thanks.
I agree.
History suggests that he likes a big man.
He does, yeah.
Although he's always inherited those big men, so I can never be sure.
Yeah, that is true. Dean, what's the situation? What's the Chelsea striker situation? Then we'll have a think about how they all might play out.
Yeah, so obviously waiting for Lukaku. They've been having to have this conversation. I don't think it is ideal for anyone that he would be back in there. And my hunch is it won't happen. I think he'll probably will either stay at Inter or go Saudi Arabia or somewhere else, just to, again, try something fresh. He's not against going back, though. Like, I've read a couple of places saying Lukaku doesn't want to go back. He understands he's a Chelsea player. I've spoken to people that are close to him, and they're like, he will go back. Like, he actually thinks he would do quite well in that Chelsea team. So, yeah, I don't know if I believe that. If you go through the profiling of, like, what Chelsea are looking at in other positions, you've got to be realistic about what kind of 9 they would actually go and sign. If we're looking at age profiling, resale, but also goal scoring pedigree, Osimhen's probably the one. Like, that is the one that It's a guaranteed goals. Chelsea number 9 doesn't ever guarantee goals, no matter who they get. But like that is probably your closest you're going to get to a guaranteed Premier League goal scorer in that side setup for next season. And they know that. Like, I think Osimhen would be the dream signing for Chelsea as a number 9. It's 110, 115 million pounds if you can even get him out of Napoli, which now Spalletti's gone, I think is probably more doable than it was.
No one wants to pay Osimhen money for what Osimhen is worth. This is something I've noticed. Everyone seems to balk at the fee. Everyone's like, 110 million for Osimhen. We've been paying that. Why?
Yeah, it's like they pay it for Kane, but not for him. It's like, well, just go do that. Like, go do it. Otherwise, if you're just looking at people in the age, like, I see, like, other players that are being linked, just not convinced. Like, Lautaro Martinez keeps getting mentioned to me. I'm like, I don't think Lautaro Martinez is the best player. So I'm trying to remember who.
Pochettino's not going to play him as a number 9, is he?
No, exactly.
The budget alternative, and I use the air quotes because it's not budget at all, it's going to cost absolute tons, is Randall Kolo Muani. If you can't get Osimhen, but you want someone who can do a lot of what Osimhen does,
£85 million.
Randall Kolo Muani is potentially your answer.
Vlahovic. I like Vlahovic.
Vlahovic is a bit cheaper.
Vlahovic
That's not a bad shout.
Million is the
Rasmus Højlund is the other one that...
You've got to be careful though. What do I always say about the Man United thing? Playing up front for a club like United and a club like Chelsea, it can be tough when it's not going well. Look at the pressure. Look at Kai Havertz's face when he misses yet another chance. You need a fair bit of experience here. Rasmus Højlund here is
not wide.
It's too early for anybody for me.
I think there's a couple of things I would add. There's a couple of free agents on the market that Chelsea should be in the discussion for. They should be in the Marcus Thuram discussion. And I think that's something that doesn't seem to be being thrown around at all. The other one that I think that Chelsea might sign, not as a first choice 9, but as a backup, is I can see them entering the Alfredo Morelos conversation.
Really?
I think, and look, I think I'll be really interested to hear what Dom says about this. You have to be a certain caliber of person to thrive in the number 9 role at Chelsea. And the people that have thrived in the number 9 role at Chelsea are nasty pieces of work. And Alfredo Morelos is a nasty piece of work. I think him as a backup option on a free is a bit of sensible business that Chelsea should be involved in.
What do you reckon, Dom?
That's pretty out there. I don't think I've heard that suggestion before. I do think certainly Jack's onto something. There does seem to be a intangible element to what a striker needs at Chelsea. I do think Osimhen probably has that because of his background, the way that he fights for every ball. I see a lot of comparisons with Costa in some ways when I've seen Napoli play this year. Just the way that I think he runs the channels and does a lot of work. Morelos, I'm not really sure whether he'd want to be a squad player. I don't even. Yeah.
Don't worry about that. I actually think Marcus Thuram is only good enough to be a squad player for Chelsea up front. I don't think he's the number 9 that elevates them. I think he's a good player, but if I was Chelsea and if I was Pochettino, I would want to aim higher.
Yeah.
Is the answer Harry Kane?
Do you know what I'm surprised is no one actually ever tries to get Mitrovic from Fulham. No one ever tries. And like,
he's got that nasty element.
He's got the nasty
I would really like him.
He would work so well. But don't get me wrong, if Mitrovic joined Chelsea,
very cross.
I'm done. I'm done.
Clear.
I won't watch football ever again.
Dom, you hear this? This is possibly your fault.
But he has been mentioned to me before as someone that they have profiled and they do like for like his suitability to what they're looking at. And as you say, he's got the aggression. He's played in the Premier League for ages. He's got a bit of everything. No one ever knocks on the door for. I think they just accept that Mitro's at Fulham for life. I hope that's the case.
I think you have to be. If Fulham was to sell Mitrovic, we turned down a 50 million offer 2 years ago. Since then he's like the 8th top scorer for club and country across Europe. I think you're looking at now a 60 million bid minimum, and for 60 million, I think you'd probably be like, for 10 million extra, I can probably elevate the level a bit further, and that was probably why people aren't knocking on the
I don't want this to happen. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So far, you've managed to try and give João Palhinha to Liverpool and Mitro to Chelsea. So I'm starting to wonder what's going on.
I'm worried. Dom, thank you so much for coming on. It's going to be a big summer for Chelsea. That's what we're excited to find out. Cheers for jumping on me. Right, Alan is here. Alan, how you doing?
I'm great. Doing well. And yourselves, guys?
Yeah, we're good, man.
Dean, you owe me a signed melon, by the way. Check your Twitter.
Signed what?
A signed melon.
A signed melon. Blimey, can you send those in the pod?
I have a couple questions. Yeah, a signed melon. I have a couple questions here. First, with Declan Rice possibly going to Arsenal, there's a lot of reports that Edson Alvarez is gonna go. Oh, and maybe Man U. We'll see that. And then my other question is, should the MLS just get rid of the cap space with Messi now going over there? It makes no sense.
That's a different question.
I love the variety.
It's we're really mixing it up. Let's start with Messi, and we'll come back to Alvarez because I like that question a lot.
Nice one. What was the Messi question?
Should the MLS get rid of cap space? The MLS get rid of cap space?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the way that you start to progress from here. Like it's worked to a certain degree, and like I think that there's a lot that MLS now need to move on from. You can see on the screen, like this is what we're getting now, landing in MLS. Imagine playing 74 MLS games, what that goals and assists is going to read. Like it could be double.
74,
It could be double. So that's feasible. But yeah, MLS, like it, there are so many things that need to be changed. Like the Americanization of it, I understand is something that's dear to them, but this isn't like their other sports, is it? And I think that for me, it needs to move forward.
It's exactly as complicated as dead cap money and all sorts of other stuff in NFL, you know, salary caps. And it's, you know, in a football perspective, from a soccer perspective, it's pretty mind-boggling. I would argue it stunts the ceiling.
That's the
it would
problem.
definitely
It holds it back.
a ceiling over the league. I don't know if they're ready to, you know, to do this sort of thing. But obviously with Messi, he's a DP, right? So you can.
Yeah, but it's this thing whereby there's like some players in the team running 60 grand a year, and then there's like Messi. You're like, okay, like these guys who are at the bottom, like surely they shouldn't be the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. Like
but I mean, they should be happy to be given 60 grand a year to run for Messi.
Yeah, but this is the thing, because you have to balance out the squad in this way. Because they have to balance it out by having these 60 grand a year players to get the other, like, you're just drawing the quality of that play down. Everything needs to be elevated to make it a better quality all-round product, doesn't it?
I mean, the whole thing is geared towards scoring goals. It's entertainment, right? It's very much entertainment first. It's let's let teams have 3 wicked attackers and not very good defenders. And then hopefully the attackers will score loads of goals and it'd be so good. That is basically the philosophy of MLS. And it's not going to cut it as they start to hit new heights.
I've got to say, there's plenty of merit in what both of you are saying, and I agree with you on principle. But in an era where we're seeing the financial elite pull away from everybody else in Europe, I think a salary cap in Europe or in the Premier League or individually within leagues is something that I would rejoice at being put in place. Because I think that there is an element there where you actually stop people just being able to fundamentally buy stuff. And so therefore I would say that there is, you know, you can have as much money as you want to buy a thing, but if you can't use all that money, it doesn't make it changes the element of it.
So Harry Maguire is on 60 grand a year now.
Well,
so we're raising the salary cap.
I think we should raise the salary cap rather than get rid of it, right? That's probably where I get to. Right, let's come on from that and go to Edson Alvarez, because this is a really good question I really like, and there's lots going on. I just lost my microphone to talk about Edson Alvarez.
I'm not his biggest fan.
No,
I'm really not. Alan, are you particularly attached to Edson Alvarez?
Yes, I'm Mexican myself, so I'm very.
Yeah, I've always liked him as well.
What do you like about him though? Like, what is it about Edson Alvarez that you think is so good?
I mean, he holds it down in the midfield. We've had a history of like great center midfielders. I mean, with like Herrera, now he's kind of past his prime. Before that, with Dorado and so on, and just been there. I mean, before he played center back. So even if we need him to be in the midfield, he could also go back to defense if we need to. And he's just one of the better players to be physical out there, because as Mexico's not as physical as any other countries sometimes.
Yeah. So where would you want him to go? Because like he could end up at Dortmund or he could end up at West Ham.
If I had to choose, I think he would probably go to I think Leverkusen would be pretty good for him.
Yeah, like that. No,
that wasn't Leverkusen.
Found a better one. He's found a better one.
I think it would be great there. I mean, Dortmund would be great, but I think he'd thrive more at Leverkusen.
I'm intrigued about Bayern, because obviously Chelsea tried to buy Alvarez twice when Tuchel was in charge, And those bids were what, 55 and 60, both knocked back. Now I think I actually accept lower than that this summer because obviously they have a summer to scout and bring a replacement in. But Tuchel is at Bayern. And if he watches Borussia Dortmund starting to get into this bidding space for Edson Alvarez, I do wonder if he goes, no, not for me, thank you.
All right, then. Yeah, you speak to any Bayern fan and they'll tell you that they really need more defensive stability from midfield. They're actually quite over Goretzka, seemingly, and they want Kimmich to be partnered with someone like Edson Alvarez.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not his biggest fan because I think he's quite boring to watch, and that shouldn't really be a criticism because as you rightly say, he holds the midfield down really well. He does the dirty work. He does the basics. I do think he's a little bit technically limited, and context of an elite side, I just feel like if that midfield got super intense and they were in the middle of a Champions League duel, like I watched with, say for example, Bayern Munich playing against Barcelona this season twice in the Champions League in the groups, when it gets fast and furious, the players that aren't quite technically there, they get found out really, really quick. And I was surprised to see that the player that stuck out for the wrong reasons in those duels was Marcel Sabitzer. And he's way more technically astute than Edson Alvarez. So that's my concern with him. And I feel like at Ajax, they sort of made his role very easy and very simple. 5-yard passes, just do the tackling. He does valuable things. I just wonder if he scales up to the very top level in the right way. I've always worried about that.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, let's get there. Let's get him there, as you say, and we'll see how it goes from there. All right, thank you so much, Alan. Real pleasure to have you on, mate. We're starting to get towards the end of things, but we've got some more people to chat to before we finish up. So we'll try and speak to.
It's mad that the window only opened today, and there's so much to actually cover.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
It's like 2.5 months left of this.
Cool, and the rest, mate, and the rest. And then we'll have some season to talk about as well. Lots of exciting things going on. So,
true.
Lots about those things. How are you feeling about the summer in general, Dean? Because
scared
it is set up for a big one.
I've got a lot of work to do. I've got a lot of things to take. I mean, just in this conversation, we haven't addressed yet the fact that suddenly today we get arriving here and it's reported that Barella might be on his way to Newcastle. And what? Where's that come from? I've heard whispers of it coming into the week, but didn't take it that seriously, to be honest. Mainly because Inter Milan's whole team seems to be up for sale right now, and I'm like, well, this can't be true. They can't all be leaving.
Well, they usually have to sell one or two.
They usually have to sell
so
one or two.
So you've got to pick which one you think it is.
Yeah. But I don't think I've just believed that Barella would never come to the Premier League. Suddenly, it's talked about £50 million. Barella's going to Newcastle. I'm going to be a bit skeptical about it right now. If you are reading those reports, I've checked it out, and Newcastle basically seem very confident that this is happening. At the Italian end of things, they're like, no, we think they've got a bit carried away. Maybe they're running before they can walk with this one. There's something in it, but it might have gone a bit fast too quick.
Can we just say that it won't be 50 million, it will be more?
If that is 50 million, then
Liverpool have made a real mistake. They're basically in conversation. That would be my take on the matter.
Yeah, that would be true. But that would be a massive one to have this window to.
Okay, all right. Manny's with us.
Okay, right.
Manny, in the gear. How you doing, mate?
All is well. How are you guys?
Yeah, really, really well, mate. Really well. How's things?
I'm enjoying the session, and I thought of prolonging it. If I ask the question, is Frankie going to Manchester this summer?
I don't know if that would prolong it, Manny, because I think that's the kind of thing that Dean would just be like, we're shutting this whole thing down right now. I think that's a stretch, but I don't think he's going to be leaving Canada.
That would be apart from the number 9, that would be the guy that they would go for. Ten Hag loves him. He thinks that he is the piece that just connects everything together.
Right.
And he's right. The problem is he's at Barcelona and he doesn't want to leave Barcelona. And
he's now a really key part of the team.
He's actually become part of it. Since this rumour began, it's Barcelona have been why are they so keen on him? Let's watch him. Oh, yeah, he's really good, actually. Yeah, we should probably keep him. So, yeah, I'm afraid I don't see Frankie happening. So you've got to start looking at where else they might go. We haven't talked about Romeo Lavia in this conversation today. I do think that that's going to come through as a narrative very quickly soon. There's going to be a few teams, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, that all have to look in that direction. Again, he's in that Caicedo boat of not loads of Premier League experience, but so young. and done so well in a rubbish team last season tells me that you're probably going to be all right, especially if it's like just under the 50 million mark.
He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I appreciate the concerns over the experience. I get it. But sometimes there's an opportunity to sign a player of this quality and you can't get too bogged down in the weeds and the details, because whoever signs Romeo Lavia next is not going to let them go. He's gone, right? He's gone. As soon as he goes to his next club, he's gone. So just make sure you're the next club. Otherwise, you miss out on him. Sometimes it's as simple as that. It's like the Mason Mount thing. So do Man United genuinely need Mason Mount? He's not a crippling need for them.
No.
If someone's stupid enough to sell Mason Mount, you buy him and figure it out later.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, man. Have you got any other questions, or is you set?
Yeah, I would also like to know if there are any news of United signing any strikers.
He's calling it just a one.
Very reasonable.
Gonna say, you want the full list?
Yeah, let's have the list, Dean. How strikers are United linked with right now?
I've got a list I constantly have to go through every day and just make sure. Victor Osimhen, Dusan Vlahovic, Gonzalo Ramos, Kolo Muani, Lautaro Martinez, Rasmus Højlund. That's the list beyond Harry Kane. Harry Kane will not be joining Man United. There is 1% chance. I wasn't going to say 0. I did that once on Nicolas Pepe.
This is new.
What, Harry Kane?
Well, they're not like new, but
Nicolas Pepe.
Nicolas Pepe did join Nicolas Pepe.
Tottenham are not interested in this. Like, Daniel Levy's just not having it. Like, United, like, Kane's purpose, isn't he? Imagine bringing Harry Kane's goals into that team. It's everything. Man United, I mean, there are reports today that this is the case too, like, ready to give up on Harry Kane. I don't think it's that they're giving up because they don't want him. It's because they know they can't get him. Look at that goals record, season after season after season. You know, it was a one-season wonder when he got those 21 goals. We thought that was going to be as good as it got. Been absolutely insane how he has managed to keep the consistency in terms of finding the net. Like, I remember interviewing him in that season, and it was a bit of a joke that he'd done so well. Like, we were like, it's this lad that's been on loan at like MK Dons and Norwich and stuff. And it was like, whoa, you did really well. Well done, mate. Like, yeah, cheers. And
when he made his breakthrough in the Europa League, he was in goal.
I was there, and Harry Kane was in goal. But yeah, speaking to people, like, they're just like, Daniel Levy just will not sell him. And I think the fact
to anyone.
They're saying to anyone, like they are saying right now, Daniel Levy will not sell Harry Kane at all this summer. Like, they're saying, I'm told there's no chance. They just won't sell him. So the only way that changes is if Harry Kane properly kicks up a fuss. So we'll see. Like, obviously he's on international duty, then he goes away on holiday, then we get to pre-season. That's the moment. Yeah, there's a lot there, mate. There's a lot there. But if you were getting a United shirt with Harry Kane 9 on the back, don't bother.
Okay. A sensible manoeuvre. That's really good. Mane, thank you so much for jumping on.
You guys.
We really appreciate it. And Arman is going to be joining us in a second. So, I mean, that is not necessarily news, I would say, DJ, to me, but it's definitely...
I think people always expect that there's going to be a chance. They think, like, if you put down 100 million, 100 million, you could get him. Money can't buy Harry Kane if you're Man United. I honestly think it's almost to that point. Like, Daniel Levy, to have Ange Postecoglou there with like an inexperienced Premier League manager who the fan base don't really know, to have him in the dugout and no Harry Kane on the pitch, they'd be like, and no Lloris, no captain. They're like, where's the identity of our team here? Like, we don't know who anyone is. Like,
I tell you what, if Ange can give them anything, he'll give them an identity. That's something that he's good at. We'll give him that much credit. Everton fans once sang, I don't care too much for money because money can't buy you stones. And then they sold him the previous summer to Man City.
Funny old game.
Funny old game how it changes. But yeah, that is exciting. Exciting to see.
Exciting to know there's no transfer happening.
Well, I think so. It's going to be well, it means that the rest of that opens up, right? Because it means that if Kane was United's top striker target and the kind of guy...
I honestly don't know where they land now. I really don't know.
That's what I mean. That's why it's exciting, because we're on the roulette wheel of chance all of a sudden.
Jack's got a horse in this race. He wants Ange to be a success. And obviously with Harry Kane in team, they're going to be an awful lot better.
I've got to say, I've got to say, you know, of all the things, Ange has always used a really high volume presser number 9, right? He's used these kind of players that really work out in various areas and have been hugely important to the way that his teams have worked. Kyogo has been at Celtic, obviously, but when he's not been in there, he's used Dyson Maeda as a 9, who presses like a lunatic, like a demon in so many ways. And actually, what I've seen from this Tottenham side, I actually really like the idea of Richarlison as a 9 under Ange.
So I Kane as a 10.
Well, yeah, I mean, you obviously find a way to play him in there, but if he lost him, I actually do wonder if that he gets a little bit more leeway, because people are like, well, he's lost Harry Kane. You know, he's having to redesign this team from the ground up. Does that actually give Ange a little bit more wiggle room to work with, because he's not as expected to be straight off the bat successful all of a sudden?
I think it heaps the pressure on even more. That's the thing. Harry Kane is a get out of jail free card, you know, maybe 15 times a season. Genuinely, Spurs could win 15 games in a season that they don't deserve to win and don't play well in, but Harry Kane scored.
That's the problem.
And having that crutch while you try to assert yourself,
that's what Levy can't lose.
That's the key.
That's what you can't lose. It's just too much of a risk on his part. And yeah, it's the risk because in a year he loses him for nothing and he has to replace him. Like that is equally as risky.
Yeah.
But to know that Kane might get him into Europe and might stabilise things, and they've got another year to figure it out, apparently is more important to him right now.
Okay. Alrighty, right. We've got another retro Chelsea shirt, and Armin is with us. How you doing, mate?
Hi, good. How are you guys?
Yeah, very, very good, mate. Very, very good.
Very nice to see you guys in person. And
great to talk to
you. I had 2 questions to ask. One is for me, and one is for the friend of the pod, Lucas.
No, the second one can't be. Sorry.
He is in the live, but he's in a difficult situation to ask a question himself. So
okay.
Yeah, he's driving his Amazon van.
Yeah.
All right, far away, mate.
The first question is that is there any other reason than wages that Mount would leave Chelsea? Because I thought of him as like a Lampard figure in Chelsea to like stay there until end of his time there, like 35 something.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Dave?
I mean, the problem with Mason Mount right now is he comes across as like being like a money grabber. Like this was all about money. It's not about needing money or wanting to be like richer than everybody else. It's about being appreciated and being rewarded for what he's given back to Chelsea in accordance to what other people on his same level are getting. So Reece James is elevated to this wage of £270,000 a week. Mason Mount's offered £200,000 a week. They're like, why is our player worth 70 grand a week less to you than Reece James? Like, what is the disparity here? They couldn't get their heads around why that would be the case.
Can I try and answer that for them? Reece James is potentially the best right back in the world within 2 years. Mason Mount is never going to be the world's best number 10.
Maybe. But from the 70 grand a week difference is a lot. And on top of that, they were making signings like Raheem Sterling for, again, £300,000 a week. And looking at, Koulibaly was coming in. They had, who else signed on big money? Kai Havertz probably wasn't. Who?
Cucurella.
Enzo Fernandez. So all these people came in and they're all earning way more than Mason Mount. And he's still offering £200,000. It was more a respect issue. It was more that they felt that they were more deserving of a better contract offer. And they know other people will be willing to do that. And if Chelsea, there's a lot of friction there, I'd say now. And Man United are willing to pay him that. I don't think Mount ever expected to leave Chelsea, if I'm totally honest. But he will. Like, players do move on. And as weird as it will be to see Mason Mount in another club's shirt, and it will be really, really weird if they can't solve this in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it's done, mate.
The thought of that must be giving you nightmares. Mason Mount in a Manchester United shirt.
Yeah,
first game next season.
That is my night.
Okay. All right. Let's have Lucas's question, shall we?
Lucas asks, what are the strongest links for Gabri Veiga are? Because he was linked to every big club like Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, and City at one point. And he wanted to know, what do you guys think What would you guys like to see him as?
Yeah, I mean, you might as well talk about him as a fit, to be honest, because I don't think anybody
He's passing it on.
knows where he's going to go. I mean, there's even beyond that, like
I think he's
Newcastle.
one of those players who has played in numerous different roles, and we've seen, we've talked about Alexis playing 6, 8, 10 earlier. We've talked about Jude doing it in the past. So we've seen Gabri Veiga do something similar this year, but I think he's best in a more attacking role, in that sort of 8-10 hybrid role, in a sort of Barella-y role. Actually, it is probably where
A bit wider, or
yeah, a little bit. I think that from what I've watched of him, there's elements of kind of Valverde when he's going forwards in that long stride, that ability to strike the distance. Is such a pure striker of the ball. But also, I think like long term, you'd be looking at a kind of Steven Gerrard-esque kind of player. The kind of physical profile, the ability to strike from range, the ability to create. I like all of those qualities. And I'm not saying it because of the Gerrard comparison, but I think he fits really well as an 8 in a Klopp system, right? Because he has the work rate, he has the defensive ability, but actually he also brings that creative nous from the midfield that I think that Liverpool have maybe lacked of late. So I would love to see Gabri Veiga as the right-hand 8 in a Liverpool team, but I don't think they're going to buy him. And therefore, I'm struggling to find the right spot for him.
Right, Newcastle.
Yeah, although if they're about to sign Barella, then that's going to struggle.
When Barella falls through.
And Barella falls through. Well, I wonder how much they'd have to pay. So those are the, what's the question mark on? You're probably not going to pay more for Gabri Veiga than Barella at this point. I don't think it would be fair.
No, but I think the 50 million fee attached to Barella we've got right now is a false fee, right? I mean, I think let's be honest, Barella probably be costing 80 million. Wow. 80 million. Yeah. So if Gabri Veiga's more like 40 or 50, first of all, that bankrolls Celta Vigo for a year entirely. And second is a much more reasonable price point for that kind of area.
Yeah.
More within Newcastle's budget.
I like it a lot. And that's where I would like to see him end up. I think he'd be good at Liverpool. I think he'd be excellent at Newcastle as well. I like that as a midfield 3. Lots of things going for that. But I just worry that it's not going to necessarily be priced out of a move, because I think that Celta will let him go when the time comes. But I do worry that the teams that maybe he'd thrive within, and actually, Liverpool and Newcastle are the two of the top tier kind of places I can see as landing spots for it. But I would struggle with him at Chelsea, although it depends what this Pochettino side looks like. I'd struggle with him in a kind of 2. He'd have to be the 10, and if you're buying a 10 to go alongside Nkunku and have it, I'm not comfortable there.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% comfortable with him at Manchester United, because I think that Bruno Fernandes swallows up so much of the creative hub of that team, and you don't necessarily want him as that Eriksen figure next to a Casemiro. That doesn't work for me either. I'd like him at City, but he'd be behind Kevin De Bruyne in that role, and
be out Calvin Phillips, mate, for a spot on the bench.
So that's a little bit uncomfortable. So I think he just needs to go somewhere he's going to get minutes, and it's going to be difficult to put him in a place where he's going to get minutes at the price I think Celta value him at, and that's where
I think Newcastle's the answer there.
Well, there we go. I think it's Newcastle, and I think everyone would be happy. Lucas would be delighted. Lucas will be absolutely over the moon to hear this. Armin, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Not so much.
Oh, good. I think we might have a couple more. Let me just check. Eric's coming on next. So Eric's just been loaded up into the system.
We're in added time.
We are in added time.
It's a World Cup game, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going through as many as we can possibly get to, but Eric's lined up next. Looking forward to talking to Eric. But I like that, out of nowhere. Gabri Veiga.
He's been linked to Newcastle, hasn't he?
Everyone's been linked.
That's true, yeah.
Also, Dean, what was this thing with Newcastle? I heard earlier that there was FFP regulations suggesting how many players they could sign, not necessarily for how much, how many players. And I was like, that surely doesn't add up. But I saw some reports coming out of the Telegraph, etc., that they were only able to sign 2 players this summer. It seems like a lie.
I mean, it doesn't add up, does it?
That's not how it works. Maybe they meant they can only sign 2 players because they will insist on spending £35 million.
Well, they're also like leaking that, there's a budget of £75 million. They want to sign 5 players this summer, and they're being linked with Barella at £50 million. That means they've got £25 million left to buy a left-sided centre-back, another centre-half, a forward, I think a left-back. I mean, where are you going to find that?
I mean, I don't blame them for trying to brief that they can't spend too much, because they will.
Yeah, but it's nonsense.
They will be taken advantage of this summer.
Luke Edwards wrote it 2 days ago.
Yeah, so basically, look, it's Luke Edwards obviously like part of the Newcastle pack, and he's well informed. There's like 4 or 5 different sources at Newcastle that feed different journalists, different stories, and so they all come from different angles, and the answer is usually somewhere in the middle. Like it's really difficult to manipulate the coverage of Newcastle because there are different leaks that come out.
Okay. All right. Well, there we have it. We are learning as we go on the job at this point. It's Nathaniel at the back post, apparently. Nathaniel at the back post. It's all gone mad. Right. Second, is Nathaniel with us? Nathaniel, are you there? Yes.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, what's going on? Man, listen, I've been listening to you guys from the very first day. I've been watching you guys or listening to you guys from the very first day you guys started, man. Like, you guys are so incredible. I appreciate what you guys do, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, man.
Awesome, mate. This is a perfect ending.
This is the best.
Feed our egos.
All good. What's your question, Dan?
I appreciate it, man. You guys are incredible. My question is there any way that you guys see Leon Goretzka coming to Man United? Or what other big midfielder you guys see coming in the future?
Yeah, I like this. I can't believe that he's even might be up for grabs.
Well, we spoke about Bayern earlier, right? And we talked about the fact that the fans are just quite tired of Goretzka. So I suppose that ties into.
So they've had Sabitzer. He's done pretty well.
Yep.
Well, Goretzka's better.
Yes.
Goretzka's always been a better version of Sabitzer. Not exactly like, but he's better.
He's definitely better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this is great. If you suddenly go into next season with Goretzka and Mason Mount, it's a massive squad upgrade from where you are. If you've got rid of McTominay and Sabitzer,
or Fred,
if that's what you've lost, or Fred, yeah, whatever you. So I think that if the opportunity genuinely is there, which is being suggested from German sources that he is available, absolutely go for it. Like, it's perfect for where Man United are heading right now.
Look, it's not the ideal. It's not like we sit here and we talk about Man United's needs, and we know that Eriksen's been shoehorned into a deep progressive role because they didn't get Frenkie. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Leon Goretzka is the answer to those problems, but it is a little bit. It's about half fix. It's a plaster, and it's also a player that, true to my ethos, if he's for some reason he's on the market and someone's stupid enough to let him go, they can pay.
Yeah,
and go and get him, because Goretzka's a brilliant player.
He's also a big player who's played at top level, who's played in Champions League late stages, who's won Bundesliga titles. If you're trying to change the culture, then I think that these are the kind of players you bring in. And I think that's right. I mean, look, I think the perfect 6 for Manchester United, or 6-8, if you will, at this point, is Romeo Lavia, in that he can learn from Casemiro while also playing alongside him. He can do both roles. He can be kind of shaped into that long-term Casemiro replacement whilst playing alongside him for the time being. And that's a nice duality.
Yeah. It's really hard to find that progressor who's also experienced, who's also then available. Like, I always point to Ismail Benacer in this situation. I don't know, did he get his contract sorted with Milan in the end?
Yeah, I think so.
So that's probably off the table. The shortlist is so small. I know that we want experience, but Romeo Lavia is such a good player.
Yeah, if he's on the table, United should be all over that.
That was a wicked question.
Nathaniel, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Absolutely incredible. Great to chat to you. And on that bombshell, we are actually going to call this a day. Thank you so much to all of you for tuning in today. Thank you to everyone at Prediction who's helped make this a reality. Thanks to our producer in the studio, Mr. James Lorenzo, who hasn't been on screen but has been doing the business from over there.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much to the rank, Mr. Sam Tai.
Cheers, buddy. This was fun.
It was lots of fun. I had a great time. Thank you very much to our transfer guru, Mr. Dean.
Cheers, mate. That was good fun. I liked it a lot.
I've been Jack Collins. This has been Ranks FC on Prediction with your interactive summer transfer preview window show. We hope that you will join us again on here later in the summer. We're looking forward to trying to make more of these things happen. Thank you so much for everyone who bought tickets, everyone who's tuned in on Twitch, and everyone behind who helped this happen. Take it easy, gang.